everyone, I welcome you all to Analyst Ias YouTube channel. तो जैसा कि मैंने आपसे लास्ट वीडियो में यानी कि हु इज प्लेटो वाली वीडियो में कमिट किया था that we are going to follow up with Plato. This is a video in that sequence itself and we are going to today figure out about how was Platonian state, how Plato conceptualized the ideal state, right? But the question is, how do we come to know about all these thoughts of Plato? हमें कैसे पता चलता है इन थॉट्स के बारे में, इन आइडियाज के बारे में प्लेटो के, कि उसने किस चीज के बारे में क्या कॉन्सेप्ट फॉर्म किया था, क्या फिलॉसफी या थ्योरी दी थी? वेल, द सोर्स इज हिज वर्क्स. हाउएवर, द फैक्ट इज कि ये बहुत ज़्यादा पुरानी बात है. इट्स वेरी वेरी एंशियंट, राइट, वेरी हिस्टोरिक. सो बहुत सारा जो डॉक्यूमेंट है वो डिस्प्यूटेड है इन टर्म्स ऑफ इट्स ऑथेंटिसिटी. क्या वो सच में प्लेटो का है या किसी और ने वो प्लेटो के नाम पे लिख दिया? सो बहुत सारी फॉर्जरी and बहुत सारी disputes and debates हैं with respect to the authenticity of the documents. However, still we are going to look at them one by one. But it is to be remembered, as discussed from the previous video, as discussed in the previous video, that Plato's life after the death of Socrates, that was around 399 BC. Of course, the year again is not absolutely undisputed. But around 399 BC, it is believed that Socrates died. And at that time, it is believed that Plato went on to travel for 12 long years in the Mediterranean region. And he propagated the ideas of his master, Socrates, along with learning from the people in the region, wherever he traveled. Right? हमने इसको थोड़ा और स्पेसिफिसिटीज के साथ, थोड़ा और डिटेल्स के साथ पिछली वीडियो में डिस्कस किया है. बट आज मैं आपको इंट्रोड्यूस करने वाली हूँ स्पेसिफिक नेम्स से प्लेटो के वर्क से रिलेटेड. सो इन द अर्ली फेज व्हेन ही वाज एक्चुअली टॉकिंग मोर अबाउट Socrates, what all he learned from Socrates in his early phase when he was traveling for 12 years. So Plato's 3 stages of life are after the death of Socrates, right? We also discussed the same in the previous video. So for the first 12 years, that is known as the early phase of his life, the known works of Plato are Apology and Crito, the Meno, and the Protagoras and Gorgias. Now, all these works are inspired from Socrates. It is known that Socrates never wrote something of his own. It was Plato who wrote the thoughts of Socrates or propagated the thoughts of Socrates. Socrates did not get such a chance in his lifetime for himself, right? So then came in the middle phase of Plato's life, and around 386 BC, he wrote the Republic, or alternatively known as Concerning Justice. Of course, the Republic spoke about justice, about Plato's ideal state, about the arrangements in his ideal state, who was going to govern, how was the education system supposed to be, and all these things. And apart from that, in the middle phase itself, the work which is supposed or accepted or believed to belong to Plato is the Phaedrus and the Phaedo. The Phaedrus and Phaedo. These are few more works from the middle period. Then in the later phase of his life, in the mature phase of Plato's life, where he was keen on talking about dance, drama, architecture, ethics, morality, he wrote Politicus or the Statesman in 360 BC, believed so. And the Philebus and the Critias, as well as the laws he wrote in 347 BC, in further later phase of his life, further mature phase of Plato's life. Now these were the lists of or listing of some works of Plato. If you're really keen on reading about Plato, you can try and grab the copies of them in some library or on the internet. Probably after you crack your exam, जब आपका एक बार एग्जाम क्रैक हो जाए एंड आपको प्लेटो में इंटरेस्ट हो, आप कीन हो उनके बारे में जानने के लिए, सो आप कुछ बुक में से जरूर पढ़ें. Now, apart from this, there is something very interesting I would like to share with you. Plato is definitely a very, very famous philosopher in the world, right? And moved about Plato, inspired from his work, and so if you want to have some leisure time, a break from your studies, but you are keen on knowing about Plato, or you are keen on gaining passive or indirect knowledge as you spend your leisure time, you can probably watch some of them, the ones you can find on internet or something like that, right? So they are Atlantis Rising. It is about a city of Atlantis which was supposedly talked about by Plato, but this city does not seem to be existing as of now. It has somehow eloped. Right? So this movie Atlantis Rising explores about this city itself, and we are still here. In this movie there are various scholars from each time who are referred to by the characters in the movie. Then Allegory of the Cave. This is a work of Plato, and hence the name is as it is of the movie as well. However, based on this work, The Cave, Within the Cave, and these two movies have also been created. Apart from that, The Seven Sages of Antiquity is also a movie which talks about 7 different philosophers, world famous philosophers, who worked during the ancient time and gave us very impactful philosophies of various arenas of life. So they are discussed in the 7 Sages of Antiquity. Then Lux Clara is another one. The Village. The Village is supposedly, and the Matrix as well. The Village and the Matrix are supposedly inspired from Plato's work, The Republic. So you can definitely watch these movies. Now, let's get back to the question to explore. How was Platonian state? How was Plato's ideal state? But first of all, what do I mean when I say ideal state? What I mean is a state which does not exist and is only in the ideas, right? So that is right now the ideal state. It is utopian idea of Plato that we are going to discuss. So Plato took organic view of state. Organic view or organic theory of state believes that state is an organism, or it assumes state to be an organism. It personifies state, and it believes that individuals are the organs. So Plato believed in organic theory of state, and he found that there is no conflict between ends, that is what the ends or interests or what ultimately one seeks. So there is no difference between or no conflict between the ends of state and the individual, because after all, state is individual writ large. State consists of all the individuals as its organs together, right? So if the good of state at large happens, it is good of all individuals as well. There's no conflict in this mechanism whatsoever for Plato. Then he talks about good state which must have a philosopher king. Now, what is philosopher king could be a question to be explored in depth in itself. But for now, while we are having the discussion in brief, please understand it like this. The philosopher king is the one who possesses the knowledge of good and reality. Now, the question should be, what is the process to become philosopher king? Well, hold on to that question and I shall be getting back to it soon, right? State is to be responsible to impart knowledge. So it was state, according to Plato, which was supposed to impart knowledge, that is education, to produce good citizens ultimately, right? So it was state which needs to take care of its organs to be intact and in good health, right? How it is going to do it? Education was the instrument to ensure that. Then ideal state of Plato consisted 3 classes of people, and these 3 classes of people were designated with their own functions or duties to be performed, right? So they had each performing a specific or special or appointed function for themselves. The first one was economic class, and it was supposed to take care of production of wealth. This class of people were known of iron. It was believed that they had iron in their nature, right? Then there were military class who was supposed to defend community, and they were men of silver. Then came in the ruling class, which was responsible for governance of the state, and they were men of gold. So this was the categorization of citizen in Plato's state, Plato's ideal state, right? Can you resonate same categorization in the real-time society, right? Think about it. But again, as I have told you, that knowing about Plato's state brings up many questions for us as well. So few of them I have enlisted here for you. First one being, how was it determined that which person belongs to which class in Platonian state? There were 3 categories we just saw. How was it determined that which person is going to belong to which class? Was it hereditary or not? Was there any mechanism set up? Well, next question is Plato's class system having any resonance with historic caste system of India? Do you think so? Is there any resonance? Is there any similarity? Is one inspired from another? This is also something to be explored, something to be discussed. Then, how was the philosopher king determined? What was the mechanism to come to know who will be the philosopher king? Was the king elected in Plato's state, ideal state? After all, it's the work of Plato is named The Republic. What do you know about the word republic as of today? How do you define it? How do you define a republic state? And if defined in current context, was Plato's philosopher king elected? Well, again, a question to be thought about. Now, let me tell you something. The answer of all these questions actually lie in Plato's theory of education. Theory of education. If you study or if you would have studied Plato's theory of education, you would come to know the answers of all such questions which are popping up after knowing about theory of state or Platonian state. And as you all know that Plato worked very much in the arena of education. He was the founder of first academy or first institute of higher learning whole Western known as the academy. He took lectures in the academy. He spoke on various aspects and he gave various doctrines orally while teaching academy. So he was very much focused on education. From the theory of state itself, we come to know about the importance of education, that Plato is not going to compromise on education, which is why he makes state responsible for education of all the citizens, and he thinks that education is something that can make everybody, every individual a good citizen. And since he gave his own theory of education, he must be having a good knowledge of how he wanted his individuals to be educated, right? So as I've told you already, this is a big hint that all these questions can be answered through the theory of education of Plato. I would ask you to send in answers of these questions to us on our email address, which will be available in the description box, and you can share your answers with us over there. While I'll be back in another video and I shall be discussing about Plato's theory of education with you all in that video. Till then, take care and stay tuned. Thank you so much for joining in.